Welcome to the BumbleKast. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is my Bumble co-host, Kyle, JCRB Krause.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? This is a show that we do every week, and you ask your questions, and sometimes we give you answers. So that's the BumbleKast. That's
in a nutshell.
Yeah, pretty much. How you doing? How you doing, buddy? What's going on?
I'm doing all right. I'm kind of excited because after we finish recording this, I'm going on the first vacation I've been on in
Do you consider conventions vacations? I mean, not really.
Absolutely
I guess
not, sir.
They're kind of work. They are work, I guess, aren't they?
They are
for you?
marathon jobs.
Yeah,
I love
that's
them.
true. That's true.
But they are nonstop on your feet work.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I mean, it's traveling, and you're going to a different place than usual. So, in that sense, I guess at the very base level, it's sort of a vacation, in that it's a break from the usual. But it's
conventions are you choosing to have a retail job for 3 days straight.
Yeah, kinda.
Now, granted, I love it.
They're a lot more fun than that.
Yeah, yes, they are. I almost said, in some ways, but no. They are way, 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 way more fun. It's like, oh yeah, I remember when I worked that.
Yeah.
No, convention's far better.
Yeah, I would much rather work a convention than work in a grocery store ever again in my life. So, yeah.
How about you, sir? How you doing?
Not too shabby. Not too bad. Just hanging in there. Not a whole heck of a lot to report on my end, I suppose, but that's kind of how these things go. Anything new going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, we do have a bit of news for the show.
Ah, yes.
For a bit now, we've been trying to get BumbleKast Gaming as a thing. Our gaming channel. And unfortunately, it just didn't take off. We tried. We did our level best. And in the end, it's just something we can't maintain fairly regularly. So it's still going to be a thing. We'll still stream when we have the chance, and we will still put up videos every now and again. But instead of being a regular weekly thing, it's going to be however it comes along for us.
Yeah.
You can still expect the double weekly updates throughout June and July. We have a nice backlog of that. But if you had it set in your calendar, oh boy, here comes BumbleKast Gaming, you can take that off. Just make sure to follow us on Twitter. That's at BumbleKast. And when we're going to stream, we'll say, hey guys, here we go. Or, follow us on YouTube, and we'll set a reminder for that too. And, just hang out. I think it'll be a little easier for us if we make it more low key and not, we have to stick to the schedule and we have to try to chase a trend, or we have to do this and that to appease the metrics. It's just, we play games. It's fun. Come watch us. Or don't. Your choice.
Yeah. The main thing that kind of spawned this was looking at the metrics for BumbleKast Gaming versus the BumbleKast in general. And as you may have noticed, we get very few views on the BumbleKast Gaming videos, relative at least to the main show. And I believe the YouTube algorithm does not like low view count videos. So with nobody watching them, it kind of drags everything else around it down. So it seemed like, okay, we need to scale these back and focus on what actually you guys want from us. So that's what we're going to do going forward. I know there's some fans of BumbleKast Gaming and the streams and stuff. We're still planning on doing those. And we do want to do some streams in the future, but it's going to be just kind of an as we can sort of deal rather than a, try and stick to a regular schedule thing. So anyway, just thought I'd, add in, make it clear what our thinking was on this.
Because we do think. It doesn't happen often, but we do think.
Yes, trying something new.
As a matter of fact, I think it's time for the Q&A.
Oh, good idea.
If you want your question answered here on the show, email us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com. Tweet to us at BumbleKast. If you're a patron, comment on the Discord channel over in the Ask Q&A channel specifically. Please and thank you. If you want your question answered sooner rather than later, become a $5 patron over at patreon.com/BumbleKast, or send $5 our way via Ko-fi. That's ko-fi.com/BumbleKast. If you go through Ko-fi, make sure to remember to include your name and your question, because otherwise it's just a straight donation, which is lovely. We get those too. Those are great. But if you want your question answered quickly, make sure to help us help you. If your question has been answered recently, we're not going to cover it. And you know how you can find that out? By checking out the Q&A master list over at bumbleking.com/BumbleKast. Give it a quick read. Do Control F. Search for some keywords. You'll see whether or not it's been answered recently. Or if your question specifically has been asked, search for your username. It's nice. It's easy. It's straightforward like that.
Yeah, it's great. We're doing our best. Help us, help you. Help us, help you. Here's a priority question to start us off from the Shadow Emperor. Let's say you were adapting Shadow's game for IDW. Would you have Sonic and friends be morally conflicted about killing the Black Arms? Obviously in the game, they don't seem all too bothered by slaughtering aliens en masse. But do you think that's consistent with their characters?
I think it would depend on the character. And I would actually want to go back and look at the dialogue specifically to see who says what and where. Because I'm pretty sure Sonic doesn't ever say, we have to kill the black aliens. Whereas Knuckles, I'm pretty sure, does. And that, I think, is a key distinction. So it would be a matter of, seeing that, use some game canon as a basis, and then investigate the characters from there. I mean, by the logic of the game, and that's being very generous, the Chaotix blew up the Black Comet. So, but, I mean, then again, the Eclipse canon shouldn't work, and now we're getting into why Shadow's a bad game. But, to answer your question, it wouldn't be everyone just carte blanche offing aliens. No, it would be something to take into consideration. I wouldn't want to dwell on it because the morality of fighting for your life is something a little too heavy for this book, I feel, but I don't think we're ever going to actually have to cross that bridge. So
Knuckles is okay with killing. Cool. That's what I got out of that. I mean, that sounds about right. Of the characters in Sonic, it seems like Knuckles and Shadow would be the ones that are okay with killing. Actually, Shadow might enjoy killing, and Knuckles just does it because he needs to. Does it as necessary. That might be the distinction.
But I mean, I think the mileage of that only goes so far, because I'm pretty sure I remember Tails saying something about killing them as well, and I'm like, really, buddy?
Oh, yeah, okay, well, maybe they all want to kill. Maybe they're all vicious carnivores. I mean, foxes are. Blaze is. Anyway, here's a question from AwesomeCakester. What character did you dislike or even flat out hate in any media that at some point, whether it be through a different interpretation or just a reworking from the source material, you change your opinion on to be an alright character or even becoming your favorite?
Big the Cat.
Yeah?
There's been one or two in the Sonic games, but Big was the first where, I still remember those heady moments when Sonic Adventure was announced and they're showing off the new art style, and I'm like, what have they done to Sonic? And, okay, Amy is weird looking, but she's playable. That's cool. And Knuckles is back, and Tails is back, and Sonic's back, and you get to play as one of Eggman's robots. How is that even going to work? And there's a cat. A big, dumb cat, and he fishes, and he's slow, and... What is this? This is not Sonic. This is so out of theme with what Sonic is. What have you done? Who thought this was a good idea? And eventually I came around when I realized that's the joke.
Uh-huh.
That's the appeal. He is the contrast to everything else. And in time, I learned that Big is love and Big is life, and you just accept him, and everything's better with Big.
As I have grown older, I have come to find Big is one of the more relatable Sonic characters, actually. I don't know why. I mean, it's just, he's just a cool dude. He just hangs out. He's not wanting anything. He doesn't want anything crazy. He just wants to chill with his pet frog. I can respect that. Yeah, I'm with you. I was like, Big is so weird. He was so weird at the time, but he's a great character. He's like you said, he's a great contrast for everything else in the Sonic universe. It's just, yeah, he's great. I'm trying to think of
even with
other characters, but anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
It was one of the, not that Team Sonic Racing had that brilliant of a story, but one of the highlights is that Big trusts the Dompa because he's nice. And everyone's like, yeah, no, he's totally Eggman. We see this coming from a mile away. We are so meta-contextual in the story at this point. We know that it's a double cross. And no, he was right. He was just straight up right. The Dompa was just kind of aloof, but he was a fine guy. And, Big's bit of rationality that the Chow are fine with him, and Chow like nice people.
Mm-hmm.
He's right. His innocence and his laid-back nature just saw through all the meta context and just was true. And it's like, yes, very good, Big. Very good.
Okay, here's another character that I wasn't necessarily a big fan of originally, and it was Luigi. Like, as a kid, I kind of thought he was kind of goofy and silly, and he was just a weird color swap of Mario in most of the games, and I was like, okay, big deal. It wasn't until later on where his character developed further, and I kind of, again, he became a much more relatable character. I kind of realized that he was actually probably the only character in Mario with any actual personality beyond just a very base level personality. He's just kind of, he actually has a little bit of depth to him. He's got flaws. He's actually almost like a real person. Super Show actually did help a lot too. The cartoon. Actually, all the cartoons, really. It seems like they kind of introduced the idea of Luigi being a scaredy cat, but Nintendo kind of took that and rolled with it officially. So, yeah, Luigi early on, as a very little kid, I thought he was kind of dumb, but I have since, over the past few decades, I have since grown to really love him. Actually, probably the most out of the Mario cast, maybe, except for the Wario brothers, Wario and Waluigi. So, yeah.
Another one that just came to mind, and I'll try to be quick so we're not dwelling on this question forever. But when Ali and I first went through Tales of Vesperia, one of our favorite characters was Yuri because he was the anti-hero. He was cool. He was suave. He murdered people, but it was justified, and it was like, hey, a protagonist who isn't afraid to get his hands dirty for all the right reasons. And the child sidekick of it all was named Carol, and he's whiny and he's a scaredy cat and he's not fun to play as, and why is Carol in the party? Everyone makes fun of Carol. Ha ha ha. Take that, Carol. And then we got the definitive edition years later, and we're going through it again, and it's like, Yuri is, yeah, he's cool and all, but maybe he needs to stop and think things through. Yes, vigilante bloodshed is satisfying, but he can't see the forest for the trees sometimes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Carol is, 10 in a world that is literally infested with monsters. You have to live in the safe cities. Going outside is dangerous, and yet he does it of his own volition. He's trying to form a guild to promote his ideals and to find his own livelihood, again, at 10. and he's carrying around giant cleavers so that he can fight monsters that could literally eat him in one bite. And yes, that's worthy of being scared about. And everyone's picking on, but just leave the poor kid alone. He's an enterprising entrepreneur, man. What are you doing? You're not helping anything. It's like, oh God, I've come around and I've started to like Carol. He's still not fun to play as, but I've found much more sympathy for the wee lad.
I think that's over the years, as I've gotten older, I've found that certain characters that I used to really love, I don't really find nearly as appealing anymore, and some characters that I really never really cared for, never really thought about too much, that had then become some of my favorites. It's interesting. Like, my tastes in characters have changed over the years. So it's actually pretty neat over time to reevaluate things and kind of realize that, oh, okay, I understand this now. I understand this character better now. So yeah, pretty cool. It's a pretty good question. Thanks, AwesomeCakester. Here's a question from Scurvy Piratehog. After taking a look at the solicitations for the upcoming issue 45 of IDW Sonic, it made me wonder. The overall premise and the apparent absence of Sonic makes it seem more fitting for a miniseries or a Sonic Universe style book. So, overall, my question is this. Do you think the IDW Sonic series could benefit from having its own Sonic Universe style book? With how well the comic is doing and how many people love it, I'd assume there's a market for it, but what do you think?
On the one hand, don't pin all your expectations on the solicitations. They don't tell you everything on purpose. Don't think Sonic's going to be absent from his own book for a story arc. Number two, we have talked about a sister book or doing more than just a miniseries or an annual, and I can't get into all the behind the scenes stuff, but it's just not technically feasible at the moment. But, the way that you make that happen is you demand it. Write in. Say that you want to see more. Buy the books as they come out. You guys have been great at supporting everything we have done with this series. So put your money where your mouth is and tell IDW that's what you want. And if there is enough demand, things can get shuffled around. It's just, there's only so much time of the day. There's only so much Sega can approve at any given time, and more behind the curtains stuff. But it is definitely something that I want, and I know that people know that it is wanted. So I don't know. This series has defied every one of my expectations, so I have no idea if we'll actually get to see something like that. It'd be nice, though. I would like it.
Yeah, I've noticed that there have been complaints that the storyline in the comics is, kind of slow because you really only have the one book, and the world building has been slow because you only have the one book. At its peak, Archie had what? 3? Between, yeah. So you had a lot more room to play with and a lot more places to expand, while having just the one Sonic book means you're kind of stuck. So I would love to have at least one more to be able to flesh out the world and focus on things outside of what Sonic is doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, the book is 3 years old.
Right.
And we are still introducing some game cast members,
Right.
Plus original stuff. And, it was too much is happening during Metal Fire Saga. Oh my gosh, it's too much, it's too much, it's too much. No, wait, it's not actually doing enough. Now it's too slow because the story is more personal and decompressed. Yeah. I kind of take the criticisms with a grain of salt. But if folks are looking for the scope of the old Archie book, they need to give it 15 and 20 years to do that, Well,
yeah, but even still, the post reboot, you had a few years to play with on that one too, but you also had multiple books to spread things out between. You don't have that luxury now. So
yeah, but also post reboot, I went super hardcore into world build, world build, grow, big, all this stuff, and none of it got truly fleshed out.
Right, that's true.
I'm not saying that we were wrong there. We were actively trying to recreate the feel, and we thought we had the time to do it, and we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And with this one, it's a different approach. So there's no one particular right way to do it, and each approach is going to have its boons and its non-boons. D-boons.
D-boons.
Anti-boons.
Anti-boons. Or doggles. There we go. That's a good one. It's boons and it's doggles.
I like that.
That's a good one. I like that too. Thanks, chat. Here's a question from Diane W. While we're still on the subject of the Deadly Six, which of Sonic's friends would have their own rivalry with each of the DS?
Problem there is the D6 haven't really interacted with anyone outside of Sonic.
Tails a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
And, I did pick certain pairings during Metal Virus because they would be a little more interesting in terms of the dynamics. The brash and show-offy rogues versus the aged and experienced Zeke and Amy and Tails, who are not necessarily power players, against Zamam, who is just a wall of meat. SBO, who is the disciplined fighter, against Zaz, who's just this crazy berserker. I tried to have some fun with it, but in terms of rivals, you need more time, and you need it to be personal between them. And the Deadly Six are so broad in their desire of just wanton destruction. I don't know how personal they could get. I mean, maybe you could say there's a lingering chip on the shoulder of Cream and Xena because of Metal Virus. I mean, that was one of the rougher confrontations. But Rivals, I don't know about Rivals.
Yeah. If Xena viewed Cream as her personal nemesis, that would be kind of hilarious. It's like you're jealous of a 6-year-old kid.
I mean, she's petty enough. I could see that.
Yeah.
And she tries to come in for a bit of a one-upmanship to prove that she's totally above it all, and Cream comes out on top again, and that just makes things worse.
And
I can see that, but that's more of that's not really a rivalry. That's antagonism.
Yeah, it's true.
Rivalry is a Sonic Knuckles type of thing where there's mutual respect, but there's a little bit of friction. I don't know. The Deadly Six just hate everyone. It's very hard to make a rivalry,
even each other,
who just wants you dead. Yeah. And when your default emotional state is "I want you dead" and I will laugh at it, then it's kind of hard to have a rivalry.
Yeah, I suppose you can figure it out. Here's a question from Speed Weed. So now that Metroid Dread has risen back from the 20-year cryostasis that was its rumored development hell, what are your hopes and expectations from it? What did you like out of the reveal trailer? Anything that kind of rubs you the wrong way? Most importantly, what do you think of the EMMI robots?
Okay, so I'm trying not to set any expectations.
Same.
To be perfectly honest.
Same.
It's another Metroid. I'm happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it's Dread is good enough for me. It's like hot diggity. I don't know how much they're going to use of the design doc that I saw, but, whatever. It's still neat that it got to see the light of day. I think we talked about this on a recent episode. I really dig the interpretation of the fusion suit that they have for this.
Yep.
I'm weirded out that the X-Parasite variation Variasuit look is missing, but I'm sure they'll cover that at the beginning because that's how Metroid games are. You come loaded for Bear, you lose all that loadout, start over. I think it's kind of neat that they're putting a twist on the fusion angle where you have elements where you are running from a hunting entity, instead of just being SAX It's all the Emmy robots this time. And I think that's enough of a twist on the formula that it's not just this, it won't feel like the exact same thing again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little concerned that the Emmy segments might be frustrating. Like, they're the kind of puzzle where you have to get it right one way, or that's it. And if you're not good at it, then you're kind of stuck in that area. But I don't know. It's hard to say just yet, because they've shown a very select bit, and that gives you the taste of it, and we'll see how it goes from there. I dig that it's basically a big shiny version of Samus Returns. I liked it. I mean, I know everyone says, it's so linear, and it's like, yeah, but it was still fun. I enjoyed it.
I mean, Samus Returns is a remake of Metroid 2 for the Game Boy. A pretty linear game originally. It's not like So it's I know people were hoping that it would be AM2R, but it's not. It's its own thing. So
I mean, they also said Fusion was linear, and okay.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of okay with that, because I kind of hate wandering around aimlessly for hours on end, not knowing where to go or what to do next. I don't know. I've always been a more fan of more linear platformers, but I do like having exploration elements too. So, Metroid and Castlevania games in that style are still fun. It's just, sometimes it's frustrating. Like where do I go? What do I do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's this blink and you miss it moment in the trailer where it looks like there's a Chozo. Not a flashback, not a ghost, not a mecha. It looks like an honest to God, fluffy feathered Chozo. And it's like, did they survive? Am I wrong and this is a misdirection? What is going on? What are the possibilities? What are the possibilities?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know.
It's a really good looking game, though. It's a very different color palette, actually, for a Metroid game. So that'll be interesting. A lot of the robot designs and stuff remind me of Portal, which I'm probably not the first person to say that. So I was kind of waiting for GLaDOS' voice to start speaking to Samus. It's like, oh no. That would be one hell of a crossover, man. GLaDOS versus Samus. Hoo boy.
Do not aim your plasma beam at my potato.
Oh, she will. So that would be cool. But either way, yeah, it looks pretty neat. I still need to actually, get through more than a few hours of Samus Returns, and maybe like play some other Metroid games at some point. I've played most of them for like a little bit, but I've never finished one. So maybe I will go and maybe I'll just go back and start with Zero Mission and go forward and see what the hubbub is all about. Except I already know, but play some more. So here's a question from Scruffy Matt. I apologize if this one's been asked before. It feels like the kind of question Ian's probably answered, but I don't see it in the Q&A master list. We all know that there was some really shoddy work done on the Archie Sonic comics prior to Ian taking the reins in issue number 160. Let's not dwell on that stuff. But there was some really fantastic work done in the book before Ian, too. So my question for you both today is, what are some of your favorite issues, story arcs, or moments from Archie Sonic pre-Birthday Bash?
So thank you for checking the Q&A master list. Plug.
Much appreciated, yes.
We
have talked about this before, but I don't think it's been a specific Q&A, so that's probably why. It's also been like a few years.
Yeah. I will never forget that I was looking for, I think it was the Sonic and Knuckles special, and I put in the mail order for it, and it didn't come in, so, wrote them in and said, I didn't get what I ordered, so they sent it along, and I guess as a we're sorry or whatever, I got the Mecha Man special. This was before I was like seriously following the book, so I was like, what is this? but what is this? What is this? So I went into that completely blind, dude. And man, that was something. It's one of those moments that I wish I could go relive it for the first time all over again. Just, that was good stuff. That was good stuff. And for warts and all, the 2 interject arcs, I really, really dug.
Yeah.
Like,
they got problems. Tear them apart
for sure, but I loved those.
They got problems. A lot of the early books have problems, but I still love a lot of the elements from them. So, Mega Madness was fantastic, though, for sure. I was a subscriber at that time, so I was getting the regular books, and I got the issue setting up Mega Madness. But it took me a while to actually get the special. So I had the setup, but I didn't have the payoff for a little bit.
Oh no!
But I finally got it. Not long after the issues came out, but it was still a little while. I'm like, oh, this was worth it. This was definitely worth it. So, let's see what else. I mean, there's a lot of great covers from back in the day, for sure. And also some very weird ones. But, still, there are definitely a lot of fun things and a lot of interesting things that were happening with the old stuff. But Mecha Madness is definitely a big highlight. As a kid, I actually thought Endgame was kind of neat. I didn't have quite the discerning eye on it that I have now, but there's some pretty neat things I think that Endgame has going for it, and there's definitely like the spaz spread with Sonic versus Eggman when the Ultimate Annihilator is going off is gorgeous. So, I
mean, as much of a train wreck as the story is, it's hype because it feels like nothing is sacred.
Right.
Like things are changing, things are moving, and you really don't know what to expect because nothing feels safe anymore. And, in that regard, it's really exciting.
Yeah, and it did kind of come across as like a big send-off for the books. Like, okay, we figured this is going to end at 50, so here's the big one. Here's everything comes to a head. And then it just kept going. And then it spent 25 or so issues floundering around before finally they're like, okay, fine. We'll bring Eggman back. And then Sonic Adventure happened and everything got weird. Then the Knuckles series happened. I remember I like the Chaotix special, even though it's very silly. Because I'd actually played Chaotix, so seeing some of what was in that game adapted into the comics was pretty neat, and how they did it. And the Sonic and Knuckles special too. The specials were usually the most fun. The early specials, I think, those seem like they were the most fun books. But then Sonic Live came along, and oh boy. Oh boy. We don't talk about that.
Yeah, the early Knuckles books.
Yeah.
Because nothing was sacred, the teaser covers for the Dark Legion is like, who is this hooded figure with a mechanical arm? That looks so cool. Wait, it's an echidna. Ooh, there's other echidnas. How is that even possible? I mean, little did we know that, Genie was out of the bottle on that one. But at the time... At the time, it was pretty hype.
Yep. My first issue was actually Knuckles' first appearance, was issue 13.
Oh, wow.
So, and I still have a soft spot for that issue. It's definitely the era where it was still very cartoony and silly. But, just being a Sonic 3 adaptation and me just absolutely adoring Sonic 3 at the time was like, I'm in. This is cool.
I don't know. I feel like we're talking about this one particular era of the book, and I know there's a whole lot that came after, but not a lot of it springs to mind.
Between 50,
did I really? Did I really follow the book out of obligation for that long?
between 50 and 160 is a bit of a blur for me, especially because my subscription when I was a kid ran out around 67. So, as far as what happened between when you came on and that point, I've since gone back, but it's still kind of just a blur to me, really. Just kind of hazy.
I mean, there was
stuff. I know there was stuff going on in there. There had to be. There was Green Knuckles that happened.
Yeah, the hunt for Naugus, Eggman's return,
Mina Mongoose happened.
Mina,
yeah,
the return of the Overlanders, the tossed in space, the return from space.
Oh
stuff.
Yeah, that's the big one. Yep. Amy getting aged up, I guess. That happened by the Master Emerald. Is that what happened? I forget.
The ring.
It was weird. Yeah, the shipping drama. So much shipping drama. The weird arc where they all went back to school. Yes. Thank you to chat for bringing that up.
Was that even an arc? Did that last more than 2 issues?
Probably not. It was the worst idea I've ever heard. Why didn't you send them all back to school? The Image Comics crossover, there we go. That was a time. Oh, man. So much weird stuff. Man, Sonic comics are weird.
Yeah. That's why we love them.
They keep talking about the slap. Yeah. The slap was definitely a thing. Monkey Con. Oh god, Monkey Con. Things happened, Ian. Things definitely happened.
Yeah. Not denying it. It's just anyway.
Anyway, let's move on to a question from Fiona M. If Ankle Island was never on Earth, does that mean there was just a giant ring in Sonic Adventure somewhere on the train track, and that's how they can get from Station Square to Mystic Ruins? And does that mean the Master Emerald shards were hurled through space if some landed on Earth?
Okay, number one, the tracks that went from Station Square to Mystic Ruins was just natural. Angel Island was through a cave beyond the mountain range. It was not connected to that.
Yeah.
Because it was originally from that region. When I asked this question, Angel Island is clearly part of that landmass, and it was in Sonic's world, but then it was back in Adventure. How happen? I was told it was by a miracle. And I said, really? And that was my answer. Once again, I can't get into details right now, but I wouldn't be too concerned about that kind of detail anymore. I'll get into it more later, but don't worry about it for now.
Holy crap. The chat is exploding. Oh man. I'm sorry. Guys. Also, I said it wrong. It's actually in the question here. It says Station Spare. So, just wanted to correct that. Here's a question from John B. As someone who got into Sonic through the adventure games, I just accepted the fact that Dr. Eggman was Dr. Eggman, with the Robotnik name being acknowledged every now and then. What was it like for you two to have the name suddenly change back in 1999, and did the English version of Sonic Adventures attempt to reconcile the name change help with the transition?
For me, I was one of those dig your heels in the sand. No. Robotnik is much more serious a name. You can't take Eggman seriously, blah, 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 blah. When ignoring the fact that he's always been a goof.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a series about a talking blue hedgehog fighting a fat man in a hoverpod. It's, you don't take it that seriously. And just, no, stop it. contextualize here. I do appreciate that they made that effort to, create a transition rather than just, hard shift from one to the other. Even with a callback in Sonic Generations, nobody calls me that anymore. I appreciate the effort was made, and I'm fine with it now.
Yeah, I don't remember having a huge issue with it at the time. I think because I'd already been really deep in the Sonic fandom online and just, going online and reading stuff about Sonic. So I already knew what the name Eggman was. I knew it was what they called him in Japan. So I was like, oh, okay. So I guess they're just calling him Eggman now. Cool. I don't think I was too weirded out by it. I definitely preferred Robotnik at the time, but I think as time has gone on, Eggman has just gotten it's kind of ingrained itself into me, so I'm okay with that. To me, Robotnik is more like the characters in the 90s cartoons, in Sad AM especially. That's Robotnik. You wouldn't call that guy Eggman. You can't take that guy seriously as Eggman, but Robotnik? That's a pretty serious name. Yeah, I think you can. I think that fits him better. So, next question is from Creative Name. I've been thinking about that old Mario pitch that Ian did, and while fate decided it was not meant to be, I have to wonder, were there any ideas on how to adapt Mario 2/USA? Would Subcon have been an actual location, or just a figment of Mario's imagination? Thanks for doing the podcast. It really brightens up my Mondays.
So glad to hear that.
Yes.
I figured it would be, it's all a dream in the game, yeah? So
yeah.
That's what it would be. It's a dream. And then, the stinger is that everyone kind of shows up and they're like, oh man, I had the weirdest dream last night and you were there and you were there and you were there. Wait, we all have the same dream. And it's Mario. It's so crazy, wacky, magical that it works. It's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good with that. I don't know. Would that have even been something you could have adapted into a comic? Would be the question. Who knows?
I have no idea.
Who knows? Who knows? A comic would have been weird for Mario because continuity? What's that? Hero of Light 13 has a question. Whatever happened to that classic Sonic short of Tails visiting Amy and talking about his adventures with Sonic? The one with Amy's scrapbook/fan comic notebook. It was noticeably absent from the classic special itself.
That's because it is the free comic book day issue coming out in October. When is it now? It's no longer May. Phooey. But it's coming out later this year.
COVID moved it around? Is that what happened?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because it used to be there was the Halloween fest.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that's where it got moved to. Shoot. But yeah, it is the free comic book day issue, and it will be included in the deluxe edition of the 30th special. That's where your confusion is, Hero of Light. There was the 30th special, which took the place of the annual. Then there will be another classic story for free comic book day, and then the 30th special and free comic book day will be in the deluxe special later on.
Okay, yeah. And that will be August 14th.
Thank you.
Saturday. So, yeah, look forward to that. And here we have a question from Off. Looking back at the virus arc, particularly Silver's role, has me wondering a few things. At the rate we saw the infection spreading, it's hard to imagine the world hadn't completely been overrun by 200 years. How was Silver able to survive in such a dystopian future? How were pockets of survivors able to hold out and thrive for multiple generations against something even the best of the best in the present timeline couldn't even stand up against? Did he return to a future timeline where the world was still overrun by the virus? Or did he return to an altered timeline playing by the butterfly effect rules, where he now has memories of the timeline he altered and the new one that his actions created? Why is Silver such a convoluted character, and why do time travel plots stink so much?
Well, in Silver's case, it's because he's a time traveler in a franchise that didn't set time travel rules.
Mm-hmm.
And for the sake of our purposes, Silver went back to his future from Forces, arrived and saw that it was the horrible metal future, immediately turned right back around and came back to the present post Sonic Forces. So how did anyone survive to sire Silver? Nobody did, but he was outside of the time stream, so it doesn't count. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I guess it's kind of like maybe Back to the Future rules, where, you know, the timeline doesn't change immediately. It's more like a rippling thing, a rolling effect.
Yeah,
and then so
like
who
that.
knows, maybe you could, actually that could have been interesting. Have Silver slowly be turning metal, but not because he got exposed to the metal virus, but because he got exposed to the metal virus in the future. So, I don't know. That would be weird. I don't know. Interesting.
And he really would be
or he's just slowly fading out. Yeah, I mean that's the Back to the Future way of doing it, but you know, still. Yes, but he does have to play at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance.
Oh, he absolutely does.
Yeah, yes, he does. He does. He could do that.
Unfortunately, he doesn't know any instrument beyond air guitar, so he's just kind of like wailing Johnny B. Good off key while going strank, drank, 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 drank.
It's true.
I'm doing all the moves with absolute confidence. Just there's not a single note coming out of that guitar.
No, because it's not real. It's not a real guitar. He's just playing air guitar. That would be funnier. But
divided. Which is worse? Him flailing around on stage, pantomiming, or just strumming away on this electric guitar that isn't even plugged into the amp?
Have you seen the air guitar competitions? They're real.
Oh, I thought that was just like an Onion headline.
No, real air guitar competitions. They're on YouTube. They're hilarious and awesome. Okay. Some of them are ridiculous. Some of them are amazing. Like the showmanship is fantastic.
Okay,
but very silly. Also very silly.
Yes, I assume.
Yes. And finally, our last priority question is from Noni. What would Nega Starline be like?
What, like an anti-Starline?
I guess, or like you have Nega Eggman and then regular Eggman. I don't know. More like Eggman Nega.
Well, see, this is why I don't like the name Eggman Nega. Never mind that it's very awkward to say.
You have to be very careful with the pronunciation.
You have to be very, very careful.
Uh-huh.
Thankfully, he's dead, so I don't have to worry about it too much. But he's not really a negative version of Eggman. Eggman's already a very negative individual, and his future, possibly interdimensional counterpart isn't really that different in characterization. He's a little more elegant in his presentation. He's perhaps a little more ruthless, but at that point you're kind of splitting hairs.
Yeah.
I mean, he's more self-destructive in his end games. If I can't have it, no one can have it. Whereas Eggman is just kind of general petulant. He wouldn't undo himself on purpose, but I don't like it. So let's think of it more as like Negaduck out of Darkwing Duck.
Okay.
A darker version of the main. Because if we're thinking like the old Archie Sonic stuff, the antis, that's completely different. That's a different approach. So if we're going Nega, like specifically, he would be more overtly sinister, maybe. Less cuddly. Starline, as he is very approachable. He's a bad man.
Mm-hmm.
There's no two ways about it. He's irredeemably awful, but there's a charm and an aloofness to him. So I guess a negative version of that would just be all the charm is gone. It would be, he would still have that kind of smoothness, but it would be this oiliness I suppose, in comparison. Just this overtly sinister and caustic personality. He wouldn't be as much fun. He'd be creepy. He'd be not nice. I don't like that.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting idea, though.
Now, just to cover all my bases here, if we're talking anti-Starline, like in the old days, the anti-universe, that is step one, the antithesis, of course, the coin flip. Hero to dark, dark to hero.
Right.
And one of the things I wanted to do with the antiverse is even if you had good guys, they wouldn't necessarily be perfectly good. Dr. Kintobor is a altruist and a veterinarian, and he wants to do nothing but good, but he's a coward. All the good he does amounts to just his one little pocket of the forest. He doesn't go out and do more. He doesn't strive to create a better world. He has to be dragged kicking and screaming to give Buns any kind of armament, and even then it's all non-lethal. So, and like the Great Peace was, not necessarily a good thing. It was a stagnation of the country and the culture. So an anti-Starline would be just fixated on how awful. Hold on. That doesn't quite work. Because main Starline is a fanboy of Dr. Eggman and aspires to be as evil, if not more competently evil. So that would mean anti-Starline would be a fanboy of Dr. Kintobor, but takes it too far, maybe? Like tries to sanitize and protect everything. You know those rooms that some people have where all the furniture is covered in plastic? Like that, but the whole world over. Like maybe even try to figure out how to roboticize the planet so that everyone would be safely confined within robot shells.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Have to workshop it, but maybe.
I don't know. For some reason, I imagine that anti-Starline would be like a carnival showman. He'd be a carnival barker, but he wouldn't be not like evil, not like he'd actually be like a good guy, but he would be a just a real showman. I don't know. For some reason, that's kind of what I'm thinking of. But
I mean, I can see the hat.
Yeah, I know.
I can very easily see the hat.
Yeah. He'd be a great carnival announcer. All right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and take a quick break and then jump right back into the standard Q&A here on the BumbleKast. Let's hop in to the standard Q&A. A lot of these came from our YouTube stream that we had last month. Thank you to everybody who participated in that and submitted questions. Much appreciated. Let's go ahead and get into this one. Starting us off with Gentendo. What is Starline's age? Is he about around Sonic and Company's age, or is he in his 20s and 30s like Mimic?
I imagine he's in his 20s and 30s like Mimic, but I also didn't think Mimic was that old, and Zuka-san said he was. So I guess I'm going to wait and see what Sega says his age is.
There we go. Here's a question from Biostar96. So Tangle's claustrophobia, was it caused by a traumatic event in her life, or is it just a fear she naturally has?
Just a natural fear. She's a big, open, bombastic individual. Any idea of being restrained just does not sit well with her.
Mm-hmm. Here's a question from Zane P. Of all the villains ever to appear in any comics, who do you think would be the most likely to be redeemed and the most far gone, excluding not being allowed to change them, i.e. Eggman?
Right. I could almost see Rough and Tumble coming around. I don't want to. They're much more fun as the Rocksteady and Bebop mooks. But they're not really monstrous. They're just nasty.
They're just mean, yeah.
Yeah. So if they could get their heads on right, I could see them coming around and being completely inept good mooks.
Mm-hmm.
They mean well, but they just cause problems.
Kind of
So
like,
they Rocksteady me, oh yeah.
yeah, kind of like Bulk and Skull in Power Rangers. Yeah, who eventually just kind of come around to being, halfway decent.
I mean, I wouldn't want that until we had a robust enough rogues gallery that we could more or less retire their characters like that. But I don't know, I can see that happening, but I like them better as they are. Mimic is absolutely irredeemable. He straight up set up his team to be murdered just to save his own skin and went out of his way to try to off Whisper and Tangle. Whisper for job, Tangle just because she was associated with it. Just, yeah, Mimic is... Ooh, he's a bad dude.
Mm-hmm. Same as Starline, I assume.
Yeah. Starline is kind of in the same boat as Rough and Tumble in that he should be smart enough to figure things out. Like, Eggman never learns from his constant defeats.
That's true,
Starline, if he wants to actually surpass his mentor, would have to learn. But one of the things we're kind of dealing with Starline is that he's not nearly as smart or as cunning as he thinks he is. And that's part of the tragedy of his character. So,
yeah,
I don't know. If he were to go full good, I think that would, kind of like Rough and Tumble, he would lose some of its appeal.
That's true.
It'd be yet another villainous character turned friendly. And,
right, yeah. Yeah, that always seems to happen when characters get so popular, They end up you turn them good, and then you just don't know what to do, run out of things to do with them. Don't realize what's going on. And then they just, they just kind of stagnate. Shadow. Here's a question from Robert H. Ian, how do you feel a good character Bible should be formatted?
Oh my goodness. You need to have your most pertinent information first. What is the synopsis of the project? What are the key characters? What are the key goals? If you need to reference this, or if you're trying to pitch this to somebody, what is the first page type of thing? What clues you into what is the themes and the feel and the goal of the project? And once you have that top layer established, then you can get into the nitty-gritty. And from there, I guess it depends on what information you're going to need to cite the most. Having worked a lot in Google Docs now, the fact that it can auto-create a quick menu has been a godsend for some of the Bibles I've made that are like 30-plus pages long. I typically kind of go towards characters first, and those should be robust enough that it has all the pertinent information, but don't get so bogged into the details that it's like 7 pages for a single character, because you can't reference that too quickly. You're basically building a wiki for yourself. Then I would do key locations, and again, start large and go smaller. Even with characters, if you can group them into nice little organized groups, that helps a lot. Who are your heroes? Who are your villains? Who are prominent side characters? And what are the key relationships between them, so that you can do a very quick back and forth reference and not be completely lost in your own work. With regions around the world, what are your key locations? Are they cities? Are they environments, continents, countries? How can you group them together in a way that's easy to reference? Like in the old days when we did the post-reboot stuff, I kind of, from the top level, it's like, here are the major continents based off of Earth, and here is the Central Freedom Fighter team for that region, and the Central Egg Legion for that area. And so if I need to pull it off the top of my head, it's like, what region are we in? It's that one. Okay, that's the Freedom Fighter group. That's the villain group. Those are my assets. Go. What is the terrain like? What is the points of interest? What are the major landmarks? Bit by bit, that kind of thing. And for myself, for like Drogoon, I have a section in that Bible dedicated to what is the plot outline for the series at a macro level and at a more precise point-by-point level. What are the key points that I need to hit so that I know, okay, I'm building towards this, so I need to put in a little bit of a Easter egg here, or I need to foreshadow, or I need to have the character start down the path here so that they can get there by this point. And look at it and see, oh, that makes no sense, or wow, that's contrived, or whoo, that's way too fast, or wow, that's taking way too long. And what elements are in the project itself, and what is backstory, and how much is important to that backstory. Do you need to show it? Can you just reference it? Where does it happen in the timeline? You don't need to necessarily show every single event in your story, but you need to know where it was so that you don't build around it and then find out, oops, my timeline doesn't make sense by 500 years. And if you're terrible at math like I am, that visual cue really helps a lot. And I would suggest kind of building the skeleton of those major points first and then filling it out from there. Because if you start with characters and then start building each one, you're going to exhaust yourself before you've even approached a fifth of what the Bible needs to be. I feel like you need to tackle it. And there's other ways to do this. Don't take my word as the single way to do it. But the way I approach it is start with the macro. Start with the biggest possible concepts and then create your subheadings below that so that you can, if you need to look up characters, you can just jump to that section and then go into the finer details. Don't go, here are characters organized by region, because now you're looking for regions inside your characters. That gets messy.
That's a lot of good information there. You should take note, everybody. Let's go ahead and get into a question from Super Austin. Not regular Austin, Super Austin.
Well, you got all the Austin emeralds.
Yeah, that's it. That's what happens. If you could have made anti-versions of the Zeti for Moebius, what would you have made them like? And would they fight or only try to help people without actually fighting Scourge and crew?
I would imagine... Alright, so the Deadly Six are warmongering, hyper-violent monsters that are thankfully quarantined on Lost Hex, which is this weird little planetoid that apparently very few people know about or can get access to. So the anti-version of that would be the Lively Six.
The Friendly Six.
The Friendly Six are absolute peaceniks. They love everyone and everything unconditionally, and they cultivate Lost Hex because it is their own little floating private paradise, and they want to make absolutely sure that it remains that way. So they're going to make sure that you're going to play nice, and you're not going to step on the flowers, or they will lovingly restrain you for the next 20 to 40 years, because you can't do anything bad. And they don't want to be too mean to you, but it's for your own good.
So they're hippies.
They're militant hippies.
Very militant hippies, yes.
There you go. And just for reference, this is what Anti-Zavok sounds like.
That voice sounds really familiar. What do you?
I don't know if I'm referencing anything in particular.
Yeah, I know.
All I know is that Anti-Zavok hates waste.
That's great. That's great. Here's a question from Miles T. Prower. This is it. This is Tails himself asking a question. Fantastic. Slightly related to Rivals of Aether, what are your thoughts on Ori as a franchise?
I have not played any of it. I actually don't know anything about it, aside from there's a very glowy main character.
Yes.
That's it. That's all I know about Ori.
That's about all I really know, too. I have seen a lot of gameplay footage of it, and it's a very beautiful looking game. It's definitely the kind of game that's right up my alley. I mean, I love 2D platformers, so yeah, I would definitely. It's definitely a game I'm interested in playing. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So, but it looks beautiful. The music is great. It's everything I should want in a video game. There's so many video games, man. There's so many video games. There's so many video games that I'm now just like, I get that freezing feeling when I'm trying to choose a game to play. Like, I don't know what to play. There's too many. I have too much. I get that paralysis. Choice paralysis. It's terrible.
Now, if you're confused by this question, dear listeners, Ori is a guest character in Rivals of Aether.
Yes.
So you can fight as Ori in the game.
Mm-hmm. And that's Ori from Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisp, the Microsoft 2D platformer joints.
And I'm pretty sure they're available on every version of the game.
I believe so. I believe they are in the definitive edition, of Rivals of Aether. Yeah. So, neat. Here's a question from the Big G. Ian, when Omega?
Omega now. Omega always. Omega will be forever.
Always Omega. Never Omega. Except always Omega. There is no never Omega.
Come to think of it, I don't think we see Omega for a little bit in the book.
It's true.
That's too bad.
What a shame.
He'll come back around. I like him.
What a shame. I love Omega. He's just a big killer robot. But, he's fun. He's a fun killer robot.
He says what we're all thinking. Pretty
much. When he's not saying what we're all thinking, Big is saying what we're all thinking.
Hey, big guy. Hey, little guy. Can you tell me who came first? Sorry, but I don't know. We are simply natural.
Oh boy.
Omega, where are you?
Oh no. Now I want to team up. I want the team up.
Whatever it is that fuels Omega runs dry. Froggy has to pop inside to be the little animal to power him.
Yep. There you go. Here's a question from Levi C. Homestar versus Sonic in a race. When?
That would be so great, you guys.
It would be amazing.
And then Eggman and Strong Bad team up to ruin the race. And then Eggman pulls out the nuke. And Strong Bad's like, whoa, I'm just in here for hijinks and shenanigans. You're going a little too far, man.
This sounds like a Sonic Boom episode.
Yeah, pretty much. Sonic busts open a robot and the cheat pops out.
Wait! Here's one from Tick Tick. Are IDW characters allowed to have classic versions now?
I don't think so. Because last I heard, there's still the modern classic division. And the IDW characters count as modern. So we can't do classic because they're modern.
Can you make up new classic characters then?
I would think so. But we don't have the opportunity to do classic stuff all that much,
Right.
I mean, the 30th anniversary was my one shot for who knows how long. So I did as much as I could to get my classic fix.
Mm-hmm.
Now that that's done, I can maybe go a little crazier, but that all depends on how much classic we get to do and what I get to do with it, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
There are other writers involved. I may not get to do classic at some point.
Oh. No, I want classic Whisper. That would be a very interesting character dichotomy. It would be, it's a very different world, so having Whisper in that mix would be interesting.
Also, Wisps aren't in Classic.
Well,
so,
we'd have to come up with something else.
Would she have like a variable shield generator, maybe?
Sure. Maybe.
That'd be kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
Or some kind of weapon that uses the shield tech.
I'm seeing here Cork Sniper. Next question is from PC the Unicorn. So, Ian, I absolutely adored the Bad Guys miniseries, and between that and reading Suicide Squad, this question formed in my mind. If you could write another series like Bad Guys, with you being allowed to pick 5 Sonic villains from across all Sonic mediums and continuities, which 5 villains would you pair together to form a team?
Oh, so many possibilities. Number 1, I'd want to bump it up to 6 so I could do my half dozen Eggman story. Get your Adventures of, get your Sad AM, get your Boom, get your Mainline, Jim Carrey Eggman, and the 6th one. Because it's Eggman, you can't just do 5. You have to have at least a half dozen. That's the joke. And I don't want to use Eggman Nega because we've already covered that. But to the spirit of the question, one way would maybe be to gather up the henchmen from various series, if we want to maybe count them as a unit and cheat a little bit. So Scratch and Grounder, maybe Coconuts, Snively, Bokun, Boko and Deco, question mark. They're okay. They're like a poor man's Orbot and Cubot, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Sleet and Dingo, just to honor everybody and have them go on some kind of caper. That's way more than 5, but a lot of those guys work as duos. They don't really stand that strongly individually. Or maybe that's the fun part, is you take one from each and see how they go together. Like, Grounder's kind of lost without Scratch and Coconuts to tell him what to do. But if he has Bokun flying around giving orders, that could be a problem. Snively trying to take over things. Sleet would also be trying to take over things, so you've got a lot of backbiting and potential backstabbing. That could be fun. Beyond that, there's not a ton of really great standalone villains, to be honest. Like, most of them are either get killed off or are done. Like Eraser Jin. Is anybody really chomping at the bit to see him come back? I mean, Merlina was fantastic, but her story was told. I feel like reviving her is unnecessary. Let that story be. Unless the fact that she's involved is kind of the wild card and that she isn't like full on villainous, maybe? Or that she's tempted to repeat past mistakes and decides no, she's learned her lesson. That might be a way to do it. Infinite needs to be fixed as a character by himself before he's concluded in anything else. Mephiles is fun in his super hamtastic way, but he's so OP. He is just ludicrously OP. It's a good thing he's dead. He's just unworkably powerful. And I don't know, beyond that, are there really any remarkable villains throughout the various Sonic media that really stand out?
Let's see.
That aren't just like game breaking in their scenario.
That's true.
I mean, I love Interjack, but he's kind of the same problem Mephiles is. He's just stupid powerful.
Yeah, he's just way overpowered.
If you're going to pull from the Destructics, there, just take the Destructics.
Yeah. Finitivus could be interesting.
Yeah.
The Iron Queen. Might be able to play with that a little bit. There's stuff to play with. Pull some stuff from the Archie days. Yeah, I'm thinking of like yeah, I don't know.
Because part of why the reasons Bad Guys worked was that you had a lot of low-level enemies. Like, Zavok's powerful, but he's not overtly... He doesn't command the whole narrative type of powerful. And he and Starline, being the biggest two personalities, they were able to work off each other. Iron Queen, she's a queen. She is the showstopper. She is the head of everything.
Mm-hmm.
The other villains are kind of hung off of her ornamentally. The egg bosses were all meant to be, lesser enemies, so they could potentially work, but they're kind of a general grab bag anyway. Any one of them could work just as well as any of the others. So I don't know. They're either like too much, or they're already part of a big smorgasbord. So it's kind of like diving your hand into the prize box and taking anything out. And there I'm just spoiled for choice, because if we're talking egg bosses, just any 5 of them, plus anybody from IDW, plus I'm not super familiar with Sonic the comic, so I don't know who would best be from that. I don't know. This question is getting exponentially bigger, and it's starting to be daunting.
Yeah. I mean, you got the hooligans you could throw in, too.
No.
The hard-boiled heavies. Man.
Oh, no.
So much. So freaking much. Bring Witchcart back. You got the Babylon Rogues. I mean, there's so much. Too many. But not enough still, weirdly.
Our last question comes from Malquestion. Not last question, Malquestion. Malquestion has last question.
Mm-hmm.
Since Ian knows things about the next Sonic game, this question is for Kyle. What are your hopes for this new game, and what did the teaser make you think about it?
The teaser didn't really make me think anything because it was very, very small. There wasn't really anything there. My hopes for the next Sonic game are... I don't know. I don't know if I have many expectations. That's kind of how I try to keep my expectations in check these days. So I don't know. I'm hoping... I'm thinking maybe that I kind of liked the ability to make your own character in Sonic Forces. That weren't necessarily integrated into the story very well, but I do think that was actually like a really smart idea, because how Sonic fans love to make up their own OCs, so it was like perfect. They know their target market when they did that. So, otherwise, I don't know. Good Sonic gameplay. I would like to see a continuation of the Generations style, maybe. Expand on that a little bit. I don't know. Really, all I want is a follow. More than anything, I just want a follow up to Mania. I don't know if I really want another mainline 3D game. I guess more playable characters. Yeah, that would be cool to get some of the playable characters. Get some of the characters back to being playable like they used to be. Yeah. That's really about it. I keeping my expectations low just because that's what I do. So I don't want Adventure 3. I don't want Unleashed 2. I don't want Adventure 3. Like, have you played the first 2 Adventure games? They're not great. They haven't aged very well. So, that's right. I want the next. I want a new Sonic 06. That's what I want. Is that what it's going to be, Ian? I hope it's Sonic 06. Sonic 06 2. Or maybe,
I'm not saying things as hard as I can.
Or maybe Sonic Heroes 2. Because I actually kind of like Heroes. I have a soft spot for Heroes. I like that concept, so who knows? Or maybe just a new Sonic Shuffle. Yeah, let's do that. Do that. Do that, Sega. Do Sonic Shuffle 2. Make it good this time. That's it. That's all I got.
Well, since keeping quiet is just about killing me, we're going to
wrap it up. Maybe a new Sonic Spinball. There we go. That's what I want. I want a new Sonic Spinball. I want Sonic Spinball 2. That's what I want. That's what I want. Sega, call me. My only idea is Sonic Spinball 2, but call me anyway. I just want to talk. Anyway, okay, now I'm done.
But we're not, because we have to give a big thank you to all the patrons who make this show possible. Big thank you to, oh boy, here we go. Daniel H., Alex P., James K., John B., Jennifer R., Robotnik Holmes, Samuel P., Sam Cybercat, Torchbound, Justin G., Coupling Crew, Mike B., Duaz Dizdin, Diane W., Andrew D., Scruffy Matt, Bradley T.T., Chris A., John M. Extra special thanks this week to Salute Your Cat, Dawn B., Yami M., Noni, Sin Fritz, Lee H.K., Lisa M., Dave M., Chevelle, Off, Silly String, Piggy Bank, Jay Frost, Blue Title Gamer, Justin S., Paps, Jib, Tick Tick, Final Neil, Hero of Light 13, Digama F. Wow, Jonathan D., Ryan D., Rachel W., Speedweed, Godzilla, Chaos Universe, Sonic Legacy, Daniel B., Dabbler the Dalek, PC the Unicorn, Preston M., Pandolce, Dove, Red Supernamic, Jonathan W., Flixie, ONBD, Fernando G., Chase L., Jonathan R., Chad, Sapphire Scarletta, Turbo, Les, Renard Pixel, Crooker, Lewis J., The Shadow Emperor, and Scurvy Piratehog.
Wow. So many people. This is incredible. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you so much for your patronage, for your support, and for just being cool. You know, you guys are cool.
Yeah, they are.
Speaking of cool things, where can the people find you on the internet, Ian?
Find me on Twitter at IanFlynnBKC, or go over to BumbleKing.com. That has links to the BumbleKast Q&A master list, my online comic book store where you can get discounted signed books, my whole portfolio, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Kyle, what about you?
You can head over to Twitter, twitter.com/KyleJCRB. That's where you can find me over there doing weird stuff. Like my other show, Nitro Game Injection. You can listen to that one streaming live on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's all about video game music remixes, arrangements, covers, all of that fun stuff. You can also find the archives of that over at kngi.org, where you can listen to the BumbleKast in MP3 downloadable format, and a whole bunch of other shows as well.
Follow the show on Twitter at BumbleKast. Contact us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com, and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, our YouTube channel, and kngi.org.
And also, check out the shop. shop.spreadshirt.com/BumbleStore. That will take you to a magical place where you can purchase some fine wares with the BumbleKast logo on it, or all sorts of other BumbleKast-related goodies. Check it out.
Fill your Bumble closet with Bumble clothing.
And
that's going to wrap us up for this episode of the BumbleKast. We will see you next week for more Q&A goodness.
That'll be it. Yes, indeed. That's all, folks. Goodbye. Get out of here. There's no more show. It's all done. Okay, you don't have to. You can stay. I'll let you.
We're just going to turn off the lights and shutter the door. I mean, make yourself at home, but we're done.
Yeah, pretty much.
You've been listening to the BumbleKast, a co-production of Bumble King Comics and the KNGI Network. Original theme music composed by Ken Coda Snyder. Remixed intro by T-Lopes. Find out more information, along with podcast feeder links, MP3 downloads, and more at bumbleking.com and kngi.org.
We're done.
Okie dokie.
Thankfully. I guess. I don't know. Tired. This episode was longer than I expected.
Yeah, it was so casual. I think we had fun with it.
Yeah, I think it was kind of thing. We were just chill.
Which is too bad, because I have a lot to do now.
Oh, well. You always have a lot to do, though, don't you?
Yeah, pretty much.
You're a busy dude. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, oh, I should be doing a BumbleKast racing thing eventually, maybe someday.